Yeah, good afternoon, Dario. We'll come on to the game in just a moment, but first of all, what's your team news looking like?
Look, everyone's okay. Friends was back in today, which was good, positive. Got through the session, so we'll just see again how she responds from the session, and we'll assess everyone again tomorrow with the last session leading into the weekend. But yeah, we got through Wednesday okay. Unfortunately, Tahira succumbed to an injury, so I'm just waiting for the report back on that. But I imagine she'll be ineligible for this weekend due to injuries. But yeah, everything else sort of in terms of looking after players and injuries, everything went to plan as best as
And
we
what sort
could.
what sort of injury is that for her?
I think it's her hamstring. So slipped on the surface, and I think she just extended from that action. So yeah, we'll wait for the report and see exactly the extent of it.
And in terms of Fran, I know obviously you said she'll be assessed. If you could put a percentage chance on her availability, what would you say?
No, look, I think she should be okay. She should be okay. She's experienced enough to know her body. Unfortunately, she was sick as well, so then that sort of slowed everything down earlier in the week, where a few sleepless nights and dealing with an illness, so that slowed her down. But she's done a little bit of work off feet during the cup game. So today, yeah, she was out there. Just said, look, we trusted her to know her body. She got through everything okay. We'll just see now, next 24 hours or so, how that responds. But I imagine all should be okay.
How exciting is it for you and the players to be back at the Amex?
No, look, yeah, it's one that we definitely really look forward to. Last season we had some terrific games there. We set the new record as well in our first Amex game. So we're hoping again that everyone can come out and support us. We know we've got a tough game against Leicester. So as many of our supporters that can come out and help us will give us that extra push to hopefully bring the 3 points back.
And obviously, you won't necessarily prepare the team any different tactically, but is there anything that extra that you or the staff provide sort of psychologically when you're dealing with playing in a different home environment?
Look, not too much. We've been there before. We've experienced it, so it's not too much of a change. So it's one of excitement. When you come out at the Amex, hopefully a lot of our fans there, vocal, so that will naturally give us some energy and a lift, and we just encourage everyone to stay vocal, try lift our energy, and that plays a big part, which it did last season, and hopefully will be likewise on Sunday.
Yeah, it's probably a bit of an optical illusion, but sometimes when you do go to some of the bigger stadiums, the pitch can appear bigger. Is that something that you take into account tactically, using the width and that sort of thing?
Look, our training pitches are pretty close to that, but I understand the question. It is a little bit different, and just to get accustomed to that, and even just the feeling of the surroundings is a little bit different. But it is a nice one when you get to go to the Amex and we get to play there. So it's one that we're excited about. We're looking forward to, and look, at the end of the day, regardless what's around, the rules are the same. Everything's the same. So I think at first that perception is there, but once the referee blows the whistle, then you don't really take the surroundings in, maybe for brief moments here and there, but usually you're quite locked in that you don't really notice that what's happening around.
Speaking of stadiums, obviously Brighton have plans for a bespoke arena of their own, but WSL Football has issued their guidelines for what stadiums should be like, sort of making them more female friendly, both sort of the existing ones and newer ones that come along. How important is that for the game going forward?
Look, I haven't seen those guidelines, so but look, I think it's for everyone. Now we want it to be as welcoming as everyone, that people feel good. That's what football is. You want to go watch a game, hopefully be entertained. Leave hopefully with a smile after 3 points. But I think irrespective of that, it's a place of love for everyone. You go to places that you love. So, when people give up their Wednesday nights or their weekends, it's because they love it. They love the players or the club, and they want to support us. So, we want it to be a place, and I think it's a fantastic initiative that, we want it to be like that. So take the fans into consideration, because without the fans, there's no football.
Absolutely, yeah. Sort of female-friendly changing rooms and toilets, that sort of thing.
Okay, sorry.
Breastfeeding areas, and it's making it more sort of accessible, more female friendly, and that can only really be a good thing for the fans, as you say, to get them flocking in.
Yeah, look, again, going back to what I said without probably knowledge of that, we want it to be, again, for everyone, for families, for kids, especially for the younger ones. You know, they come in, they see, you know, their idols playing, and then they go home and they, you know, mimic them and they pretend that they're them scoring the goals at the Amex. So, you know, that's what it's all about. So it's most important that when people come, they have a great time, that they can look after the children, they can, you know, they're free, they feel good, and I think that's, you know, that's a big part of football. That's the reason for sport. You know, people want to come, they want to have a great time. Hopefully, again, cheer their team to a win. That always helps a lot. But you know, everything else, if we can cater to what's needed, that's, I think, a fantastic initiative.
And obviously, with a men's international break as well, it's an opportunity for some of the Albion men's fans to come along and see what the women's team are all about. You must be excited to be able to showcase that at the Amex.
Yeah, we are. And look, we really encourage and we're very thankful. You know, so I know some of the men's players have helped support that and pushed for people to come and watch. And it does play a big part. And, you know, I think the girls can play. We try to play a good brand of football that's enjoyable to watch, and you know, we want to be on the front foot. But you know, what we've sort of every single week we've had is that effort, that hard work. We're determined, even when it hasn't gone right, we're still there until the 93rd, 94th minute pushing. So you know, this weekend we want to come out. We want to put on our best display of the season, which is always the same. Whenever the next game comes about, that it's always the next game is our best game. So you know, we encourage everyone to come out, support us, and it'll play a big part in helping us achieve those 3 points.
And one final question for me. Obviously, you talked about Fran Kirby and her experience. What has her influence been like in the dressing room since she's been there and you've been there together?
Look, it's massive. So if you just need to quickly look back at what she's done and what she's achieved and sort of the arenas that she's played in. So for her, those, you know, big games, it's nothing new. So she brings that sort of, I think, calmness to the group. So when we don't have her, you naturally feel it, that, you know, her experience, her calmness sort of drips to the players around her. So, you know, she's a big part of that. I know she's really helping the girls in the change room with different things, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. So, yeah, she's a massive influence, very important player, and, you know, she'll play a big part as well on the weekend.